This my greatest damn life, yeah. This my greatest life. This my greatest damn life, yeah. She tried to leave me, but I made this like my wife, yeah. This my greatest damn life, yeah. This my greatest life. This my greatest damn life, yeah. She tried to leave me, but I made this like my wife, yeah. This my greatest damn life, yeah.
All right, this is episode number 1. All right, with Rory Allen. I've just watched his 30 episodes of Base Weekly, so everyone need to get on it because it is sick. All right, you got me bloody hyped watching some of them, man.
Yeah.
You got some new ones as well. You've started back into it again about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I've done a few jumps in Germany before I left. A couple of ones that I've been looking at for a couple of years. Obviously, getting over injury took quite some time. So, and there was a bit of fear involved in that. So, yeah, just kind of dipping my toe back in the water. Since then, I've had a kid, which is a whole new kind of thing to think about.
Yeah, we'll have to delve into that a bit soon as well. How that's changed the base game for you.
Yeah, we can go into detail on that, but yeah, man, life's good. Sort of slowing down. Don't think I'm going to be doing base on a weekly basis, but still have some dreams associated with it. So we'll see what happens.
Oh, what's going on with the channel? You're not pushing it, not keeping it going?
Well, since I busted myself up, I obviously couldn't get content anymore. And also the wife is not as much on board as she was prior to the injuries. So yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to make a living out of it or sort of, when I do a jump, I'm still chucking stuff up on TikTok. I've got a massive following over there. So
you've got a huge following, man. I've been checking it all out. It's really cool to see what you've done, dude. Like, I'm real proud to be your mate and to be able to be like, that's dude, I know that dude, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like you really got into that world.
It kind of just blew up out of nowhere. Like, I hadn't heard of TikTok and I put a video up on there. I think I was in the right place at the right time. I put a video up at like 9 o'clock at night, kind of forgot about it and looked the next morning and I had 170,000 views. And then over the next 6 months, the videos were viewed like 250 million times, which is ridiculous.
Even
unfortunately,
your YouTube views as well are they're great, man. They're like nearly all of them are over 1,000 views, right? Like, and then some of them are in the 20,000s.
I got my first video that I put up was published all over the Croatian newspapers because it was a pretty controversial jumping off a cathedral. And yeah, when I put the video on YouTube, the Croatian, I was trying to push the video a bit because it was a new channel. So I put it up in Reddit and then I found out like a few hours later that it had been all over the news. I was in the newspapers and stuff. So that got 160,000 views for my first video. And I was like, so it seems like now when I look at it, when I did all the other ones and they got, just over 1,000 views, it felt like a real failure. I think just because I got such a sweet taste on the first one.
No, yeah. It's like going to the casino. And winning that first time and then being like,
exactly. And it's like winning 100 grand in the casino and then going back and winning again, but only winning $10. And you're just like, so I think, and also because the TikTok stuff was blowing up so big, like I've got 70 million views on one of the videos on TikTok. So the 1,000 views on YouTube kind of, I don't know. But I kept persevering with it. I was super into it and just enjoying doing it. But then, injury struck and I couldn't jump off shit anymore. And that was the basis around the whole channel. So, I mean, my recovery it took me 8 months to jump again, but I still couldn't even walk properly when I went for the first jumps back. So it was super dodgy. And I went to the bridge in Croatia where you and I learned, thought that was a safe environment, and it was fine, but even just a soft landing, I could feel it just coming through my whole body. So I then took another year off after that and got to the stage where I was kind of getting strong again. And then all the gyms closed for COVID and I couldn't do my rehabilitation and just didn't really have heaps of opportunity. And then the last few weeks in Germany. I got together with a mate and we just raged on some stuff, which was really fun.
Did you do multiple in the week or?
Yeah, I did it. I met him 2 weekends in a row, and we did a couple of jumps the first weekend, and then a jump the following weekend. And I'd actually done my first jump in a year in Greece a couple of weeks before that.
I know the jump.
Yeah,
that's my dream jump.
It's amazing, man.
Shipwreck Beach.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like people, like even just to go there and take a photo is amazing, but kind of to jump over it. I had a bit of a mishap. I had a 180. I hit the wall actually on that jump.
No shit.
Yeah, but it was super annoying. Like I had the GoPro 360 on and jumped, and basically I'd put it on a time lapse. So I've got heaps of photos from the jump, but I don't actually have video from the jump. So I've got a photo.
Just a choice before you jumped? You're like,
no,
time lapse or accident?
No, it was just a fumble on the camera. Like I was kind of there's a security guard that sits up the top, making sure people don't get too close to the edge. And he was kind of yelling out, saying he's going to call the cops. I wasn't stressed about it because I knew I was going to be down the bottom and he couldn't do shit. But
wow, and I assumed that was like free for all, that cliff, because so many people have done it.
It pretty much is. Like it's not hard to do, and it wasn't like I was freaking out, but it was super bright in the day as well, so I couldn't see the screen on the GoPro that well, and I just saw it, clicked go. It was in 360 mode, no problem. And then I got to the bottom and I was like, oh, that was fucking sick. And like, you know, I had a real close call. I'm like, that's going to make an awesome video. And yeah, looked at it, and I've got like, I guess a shot every second or something like that. So you can still put the story together of the jump, but it's just not the same as seeing it in a smooth, like, you know,
what
high
sort
quality.
Of cliff strike? Did you hit it with the canopy as well, or were you turning and you sort of like grazed it and hit it?
So I jumped. It's the first time I've ever jumped with one of those selfie stick things. And have you seen the selfie sticks with the 360 cameras, how it sort of blends them out?
Yeah, I've got one as well, yeah.
Yeah, so I had it on the selfie stick purely because I didn't have enough room in my luggage. Like it was a family vacation. We were renting a yacht. It was about sailing, and I just threw the rig in, but I didn't have enough room in my luggage to bring a helmet. So I had nowhere to put the camera, and I was like, fuck it, it's an easy jump. I'll just jump with it in my hand on the stick. And I jumped with it on the hand in the stick and had an opening directly towards the cliff, but then I just didn't have this hand to use. So I just grabbed one toggle out and just turned. The canopy kind of grazed the side of the cliff as I turned, and my feet, like I was going super slow, and my feet I did this kind of 3-step run down the wall, and then it was fine. So there was no injuries, no impact. I did touch with my canopy and with my foot, or both feet, but and I've got a pretty crazy looking photo of me kind of like laying back on this wall. But yeah, I mean, got out of that one free. And to be honest, like had I have not jumped with the selfie stick, I probably would have been able to control the canopy better and not have struck the wall at all.
Yeah.
But it was my first jump back in over 12 months, and it's not like I was real snappy with everything. And yeah, it all happens in slow motion, as you know, with base. But I saw the wall and I was like, I've got heaps of room, and I pulled the one toggle, but because the other toggle was still stowed, it turns really slow, right? Like, whereas if you pull them both, then you can put the other one up and you get that quick turn. Mm-hmm. So I should have just dropped it because it was attached to my wrist anyway. So I could have just dropped the pole and sorted it out.
You didn't think of it in time.
It's just all happens on a reflex. And it was fine in the end. You know, tiny bit of canopy damage, but I've obviously jumped the canopy a few times since. And yeah, it was definitely got the adrenaline pumping. And then I got to sit down on the beach next to the shipwreck and hang out for a bit. And yeah.
Did people know like what you'd just been through? So they were like, dude, you just bloody had a cliff strike then. And they were
I guess most people are sitting there on the beach facing the ocean. You know, as you do on a beach, you got your tower there, the beach is sloped down this way, and a couple of people saw the jump. But I think it's like the general public doesn't know. They've never seen a base jump before anyway, so they don't know if you've had a cliff strike or not. They don't really like it would have everything kind of the way it all aligned made that happen. Like I would have, if I'd been doing more base and I was more current, I would have taken a longer delay, so I would have been further away from the wall. My pack job probably would have been better because I would have been, in the game. Like when I was, back a couple of years ago, I was jumping at least once a week, and almost every week jumping a new object. And at that time, everything just always worked well because I was, I was right in it. I was on the top of my game, I guess you could say. Whereas, this wasn't that, but it was a good reminder that
That's a pretty
shit can
big
happen.
decision to think you're going to leave it in your hand as well.
Yeah, I just didn't have a lot of options. Like I knew, like I love getting my stuff on footage, and it's not even about just views or any of this sort of stuff. Like I just like being able to go back and look at the jump. So for me, like not filming a jump, it's like I'm going to put in the effort to film it. And obviously, as you know in base, like most of the time you jump off, the canopy opens straight, you sail away. And yeah, I thought the last time I jumped a cliff, I'd ended up having a massive cliff strike. So I thought, what's the chances that shit's going to happen again? And obviously it did. So yeah, but luckily I walked away from it and went and drank a couple of sangrias, and it was all good.
Very beautiful. All right. So for everybody for the millions and millions of fans that are listening and watching right now, they've probably gathered that me and you actually know each other from a long time ago. We've been mates for probably almost 8 years now, I reckon, maybe more.
Yeah, it'd be about that, I reckon.
Yeah. We actually started skydiving together, and then we did our base journey together where we went to Europe and did base camp together with one other mate from here as well. So it was really cool. We've shared some great moments. I think I'm nearly done. I've almost done all my jumps with you. So you've been a bit of a mentor.
I reckon you've done all of your jumps with me.
No, because I went and got my antenna in Adelaide.
True. Yeah.
Yeah, and that might be the only one, except for maybe I tried to do a few more without you in Italy, but I don't know if they turned out.
Yeah.
I might have just climbed something and then climbed back down again.
That happens, man.
It does happen. It happens way more than we think.
Yeah, it definitely happens.
Yeah, cool. So the reason why I wanted you to do my first episode was obviously because of those reasons that we sort of started this journey delving into our fears together.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to take a deep dive into you and maybe ask you a bit about your childhood and whether you can remember how you were with fear as you sort of were growing up and navigating through like insecurities and fears and sports and things like that.
Yeah, for sure. So I basically was always interested in extreme sports. I've pretty much done them all. It started with getting a skateboard. I can't remember how old I was, but it was early primary school. Doing monos on the bike, throwing my front foot in the tire, doing enders.
Mm-hmm.
And my parents bought us a trampoline like super early, like as long as I can remember. We always had a trampoline in the front yard. So I was super into just doing flips, and you progress as a kid at the beginning. You're sort of proud of yourself because you can bounce on your knees and your butt, and then you do a front flip and you land on your back, and progressed through that until most of the things that I was interested in, like I played a few team sports here and there. I played a bit of inline hockey, but really through my whole life, the extreme sports have been the ones that have interested me the most. Started with skateboarding, was never like the most gifted skateboarder. And then at the time, rollerblading was huge. So got into rollerblading, and I actually excelled at that a lot more because it was a lot more about the body awareness and doing flips and that kind of stuff, which my past in trampolining helped with a lot. So I had a bit of a head start. And then rollerblading just wasn't cool anymore. And just, I don't know, I can't even remember like actually going, yeah, I'm going to quit this. But just kind of phased out of that one, went back into skateboarding, still wasn't very good. And then went on a massive journey. Like when I finished school, I got a job working for a company that imported downhill mountain bikes. and I could get really cheap downhill mountain bikes. So I raced downhill for a while, and then got into kite surfing and did that for like 10 years. Came over here to Thailand, where I'm at the moment, and worked as a kiteboarding instructor. And I was really like just in love with that. It's all I thought about. Every second of every day I was checking the weather forecasts. And then after living in Thailand and having all of the other instructors that I could sort of build off, and we'd, challenge each other to get better, I got back to Australia, and I just wasn't progressing anymore because I was at quite a high level. And when you're at that level, you have to really push yourself. And I was just, every time I pushed myself to get better, I'd end up hurting myself. And because there was no one to kind of vibe with, I just didn't push myself and kind of just got bored. And that's when I got into skydiving, and absolutely same thing happened. It's all I thought about. I was absolutely in love with it. And yeah, then base came along, and I mean, I still thought that
the transition from kiting to skydiving was like an easy one since you were working with parachutes?
Yeah, 100%.
Sort of like a natural sort of, oh yeah, I could do skydiving. Like you felt comfortable with it?
Yeah, look, I mean, I just wanted to do something that scared me again, because when you first start kite surfing, you like see people do the big airs and it's scary, and you do them for the first time, it's scary. But after years and years and years of the same thing, it just doesn't really challenge you anymore, in a way. So I just wanted to challenge myself. And obviously, I mean, you've done a bunch of skydives yourself. Like, it's terrifying when you're in the plane and the door opens and you have to really kind of kick yourself out of the door. And I still got that after hundreds of skydives, not every time, but I still had, a real phobia of it in a lot of ways. And then I just, like, it's kind of cliche, but you watch all the videos on YouTube of guys base jumping, and it's just like skydiving, but so much sicker. And for those people that haven't skydived, although you're going really fast in skydiving, there's no perspective because the ground's so far away. So you don't actually feel like you're going that fast. Whereas in base, you just got the ground rushing up at your face. And, you do have that, oh shit, maybe I'm going to die sort of feeling. And then when you don't die and you land and everything's okay, and you're with a bunch of mates that have gone through the same thing, it's just about as high as you can get in life, in my opinion. Like, it's, you've shared such a near-death experience. And then that changes through your base career as well, as you get more comfortable with the visuals of it all, and also the equipment, and, you're confident that your parachute is going to open and all that sort of stuff. And then you challenge yourself more and more and jump off more and more dangerous stuff, until the thing with base is it's so dangerous that a lot of people, when you do push, you end up either hurt or in a grave. And yeah, I mean, that's always something that's on the edge of your mind. But at the same time, when you just land and everything's all good and you had a successful jump, it makes it all worth it in a way.
Yeah, like why? Why are we attracted to doing something that's going to scare us so much? Or what attracts you to doing something like?
I think it's the ultimate way of challenging yourself. Like, it's kind of the ultimate stupidity in a way. Like, all of the senses in your body are telling you don't do this, but you've come through. Everyone that goes into base has come from a skydiving background, and you're confident flying the parachute, and you're confident that you can fly your body, so you can kind of make it make sense to yourself. I mean, for the first jump that I did on the course of you, like, coming up to it, I was like going over to do the course. I was sitting there like, oh, should I contact my parents? Should I contact everyone I know and say, yeah, I might die. I might not be back in a couple of months' time. And I did contact a few people and sort of, I didn't say I'm going to die, but I said, I really care about you and I want you to know this, just because I've never said it or whatever. And yeah, I mean, and then everything goes well and your confidence builds and builds and builds until you push it a little bit too hard. Or some people don't, some people are happy when they get to a certain level. But for myself, like, I've always, no matter what I've done, I've always ended up pushing it to the next thing a little bit more, like do a jump that's a little bit more illegal or a little bit more this. And for me, like, of recent years, with some of the jumps that I've done, the fear of getting caught by the police and the fear of the legal ramifications has been a big part of it. In a lot of ways, a lot of the time, more than the jump itself, because that stuff can affect your life just as bad in a lot of ways. And
Does that make it like you want to do it more because
yeah,
there's more going on? Because I remember I've done a few buildings with you,
mm-hmm.
and I know that feeling of like the recon, making sure that you know how to get in there, making sure you know where the landing area is, and all these and the getaway. It's like the before and after doing the jump is almost more exciting than the jump sometimes.
And that's the ultimate feeling of achievement. And for sure, like the bandit jumps, we call them, are what I find the most, just the most, it's the most extreme in my mind. And it's the ones that I scope out the most and I spend so much time on them before I do them. Like some buildings I've had a look at, and I've jumped quite a lot of iconic churches and things like that, which if you get caught, people are going to be really fucking pissed off at you. And
Yeah, I saw you got a bit of backlash for some of those ones, didn't you?
yeah, I mean, the base community didn't like me sharing stuff online, but I don't pay too much attention to it. Like, these people aren't my mates. They're not people that I'm trying to impress. They don't like it when people take base jumping to the masses. They think it should be this private sort of thing. But the bottom line with base for me is that everybody makes their own decisions. We're all breaking the law. At the end of the day, like, I'm not here to follow rules. I kind of do what I want to do. I never hurt anyone by doing it. I've never broken anything. I leave only footprints, and I try not to even leave footprints. But at the same time, I was trying at one stage to maybe see if I could make some money or make a career out of this, so I wouldn't have to do a boring, mundane job. And I don't feel guilty for that at all. Like, in all honesty, like I'm just doing me, and I don't care what other people do. So I don't care what other people. If they care what I do, then that's up to them. It's not something I give a shit about.
That's it. It's an unregulated sport for a reason, It's like there's
Exactly.
freedom in base jumping. That's why I love base jumping a lot more than skydiving. The freedom. Like I remember in skydiving when we wanted to talk about base, we couldn't even talk about it around skydivers and them because they would be like, "Is that where you're going with this? I don't even want you skydiving at my place anymore."
Yeah,
Whereas like you get into base, we went there the first day and some guy was talking about gainers, and doing tricks, and he hasn't even done a base jump yet. And the coach is just like, it will all happen in time, it's fine. Yeah, you can have whatever goals you want to have. And it's like, oh, sick.
Yeah, it's the sexiest thing about base in general is like, you go somewhere, it's more like skateboarding. Nobody tells you where you can skate. You go there, they've put all these metal bars on the bench to make it unskateable, and you work out a way to skate it anyway. Like, it's a bit of a punk rock kind of attitude. Like, and some people, they're base jumpers, but they just go into the mountains and in Italy where they're allowed to jump, and they jump, and look, that's completely fine. But if I'm taking the risk of getting caught by the cops doing something illegal in a foreign country, like the last thing I care about is some other base jumper saying, "Oh, well, you went too far with this, or you shouldn't have done that." Like, at the end of the day, like, I'm just on my own journey, and yeah, I mean, I'm not overly concerned about what other people think about it. And yeah, I didn't come here to follow rules. I came here because I didn't want to be told I have to land in this paddock, or I can't jump through a cloud, or whatever rules there are along the way. And yeah, like, I have no regrets except for maybe the jump that I did that seriously injured me, and I'm still feeling that one today. Like, I still can't move my ankle like I used to be able to, and I still have pains coming through my hip every now and then. So yeah, that's my only regret, and that was completely my own fault and completely avoidable. But it just came from being overconfident in my abilities and being left on a mountain without knowing where the exit was, and I just had to make up my own one, and yeah, it didn't work out that well for me. So I won't be doing that again.
And other than these jumps, and I want to get into the crashes a bit as well, but other than that, like day to day, do you have like many practices or things that you do, like emotionally, physically, or spiritually, that like sort of keep those stress levels at bay?
No, I'd say on a scale, I'd say I'm a pretty non-spiritual person. I don't think a lot about stuff when I'm not doing it. Um, yeah, I don't. It's not like I battle through the fear on a daily basis. It's like I'll get to the jump and I'll see some funky ladder I got to climb up there, and then I'm starting. It's like I'm completely freaking out about it. But when I'm not jumping, it doesn't even come into my radar at all. Like I just
See,
don't think about it.
I find that so interesting because I'm able to base jump. Like I convince myself that we've got lots of lives, right? Like multiple lives.
Mm,
And it's like I can do whatever I want each life and it's all good. Like we're here to have as much fun and all that sort of stuff as we can. Whereas I know your belief is that we've got one life and one life only, right? And yet you're risking it in a different way to what I am.
for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
I hope you're right, man. Like if you're right, that'd be freaking awesome. But yeah, I don't really overthink the spiritual things too much at all. Like it's, I just deal with things as they come up in my life and try and make good decisions. And yeah, roll with the punches.
Yeah, definitely. So you got no day-to-day practices that you sort of do. What process do you go through before tackling a jump? Do you go through multiple different processes? Like, would there be a different process to how you would mentally get yourself ready for a building compared to maybe a cliff, compared to maybe a bridge or something like that?
It's more to do with. It's got nothing to do with the object that I'm jumping from. As in bridge building this or that. It's more of an individual perspective. Like a building can be a building next to a huge parking lot, like the one we did in Melbourne, and the chances of something going wrong are very low. Or a building could be that there's a ledge just after where you open, and you're going to have to open. You're going to there's not much margin for error on some jumps, and then land in a small landing area next to a light post and a car, and like it's all about margin for error. For me, I try and look at it really analytically. So if a jump is quite safe, and it's not like sometimes I'm doing a jump that's quite safe and it just gets in my head for whatever reason, and I feel more scared of that jump for no reason. But the majority of the time, um, I'll go and look at a jump several times. Sometimes I'll climb it and freak out, not be able to actually get myself to jump it, even if the weather's perfect. Sometimes I'll go there and the weather's not perfect, and that's why I don't jump. Um, when I jump on my own, sometimes I just get in my own head a little bit, and I just can't take that step off the edge, even though everything is perfect. And thankfully, every jump that's happened with, I've then gone back and conquered that jump. It feels twice as good when I've actually achieved the goal and got the exit point. But yeah, it's to me, there's bridges that are super sketchy, and there's cliffs that are super sketchy, and there's bridges that are easy and cliffs that are easy. It doesn't really. I'm looking at stuff on a much more detailed level.
Yeah. Would you say that then that your process might be like preparation, as in like you've done the 200, 300, 400 skydives, you've got canopy control, you feel good about that, you know how to read weather, you know how to like figure out where you're going to land, and you know how to figure out where you're going to jump from. And then all you do is analytically make sure when you're up there, is there no wind? Is there this? And if you tick all the boxes off, you don't even think about fear anymore. You're just like, well, I've done the prep.
No,
I'm
no,
going.
no, no. That's what I'm saying is sometimes everything is perfect and I've done all of those things, but I just, for whatever reason, I talk myself out of it when,
Yeah.
I'm cold and it's 5 a.m. up there and I'm like, what the hell am I doing? And, what if something goes wrong, and what if? And other times I'll just go up there and things will be wrong. Maybe there is too much wind and I'll jump anyway. Like
Oh, so it's a
sometimes
feeling.
yeah, it's just, it's kind of like a demon or a ghost. It's just there, and like sometimes I just get a feeling that it's not right, and um, and I can't, like, jumping on your own is completely different. And what I've done a lot of is like a lot of base jumpers will go and they'll go to certain exit points, which are famous exit points, like the beach, where heaps of people have jumped it before, and you know that that's the place they jump from and that's the place they land, and you know it's just a matter of just doing what other people have done. What I've done a lot more of is more like I'm driving down the road in a country, Switzerland, Bulgaria, Thailand, whatever, and I'll see something and I'll be like, I reckon you could jump that. And then I'll go and I'll have a look at all of it and I'll like, well, firstly, how do I get to the exit point? Okay, what obstacles are there? What side of it should I jump off? And a lot of the time, you know, you climb a building, you don't know what it looks like on top. So you go over the building and you'll be like, okay, now, is there a jump from up here? You get up there and you're like, oh, from here, that's an option for landing. That's an option. If my parachute opens going a bit to the right, then I've got this option here. Mm-hmm. And sometimes those options aren't that good, but you know, you're confident that you can make it work. And other times the jump's just easy, you know, like other times it's, you know, that it's like the last couple that I've done have been reasonably easy jumps. Like the fear of getting caught in Germany was quite high because the police are quite harsh.
Could they deport you as well?
I haven't looked into it too much. I'm a resident now of Germany, and I have a German wife, so it's not like.
But when you first were doing it, were you worried about, you know, getting maybe even Jana in trouble? Like, no, you know, with bringing trouble back to the family from the police?
More that my trouble is her trouble, and I wasn't working at the time, so if there's any financial fines or anything like this, then it becomes her burden as well. But I mean, I've never had any issue with the cops because I do heaps of reconnaissance. I'll go and if I know I'm going to jump something, in the morning, like I'll go there the week before at 6 o'clock on a Sunday and see if there's any people around and get the feel and have a look at where the local police station is. And like, I do a lot of research, and that's kept me from actually, you know, getting caught, but never say never, you know, like basically the cops aren't out there looking to catch base jumpers, you know, but they'll definitely catch you if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. And yeah, I mean, as far as the deportation thing, up until Brexit, like when I first got to Europe, I'm an English citizen and Brexit hadn't happened. So I basically had the right to work and live anywhere in Europe. Now I'm a German resident because when the Brexit process happened, if you already lived there, you got residency straight away. Okay. Yeah, I don't overthink it. I just make all of the precautions to try and avoid it at all costs. And like, I mean, I did a chimney a week ago, and you're climbing up on the outside of this chimney, like 150-meter vertical ladder, and you can be seen from the highway.
Scary. The ladders are scary, especially when they're on the outside.
Yeah, this was like miles scarier than anything that I've done before. We actually went on Amazon and bought climbing gear so we could clip in and have a break.
You were clipping in and going up. Yeah, I saw that.
And that gave me the confidence to do it. I'd be freaking out on that climb. I wouldn't have attempted the climb without the climbing gear. Now I've already done the climb, and if I was to go back and do it again, I might do it without climbing gear because I sort of know the feeling of the ladder and kind of know the distance and that sort of stuff. But yeah, it was definitely a luxury to be able to. That's the first time I've ever jumped with climbing gear, and it was a luxury just to be able to clip on and sit back.
But let your arms rest.
At the same time, there's a autobahn highway right there where people can drive past and see you, and you know, you chuck the high vis on, so you look like you kind of might be going up there to fix something or whatever. But yeah, there's always a chance, and it's always in your head, and you kind of like, yeah. I mean, you jump, the parachute opens, people are definitely going to see it. Like you can see the object for miles. It was out sort of in an industrial area, so there wasn't anyone around the immediate area, but there was literally hundreds of cars 100 meters away, and you know, it's not very conspicuous, a parachute opening and some dude flying. So you kind of land on the ground and your heart's absolutely pumping even after you've landed because you just want to get back to the car and get the hell out of there. So yeah.
Hey, have you ever done a jump that someone's asked you not to do? Like, as in, like, your mum or dad or Yana or like someone important news that said, "Hey, please don't do it," but you've like had a planned jump?
No, nobody's like Yana wanted me to give up base jumping completely after my accident. And she was upset when she didn't understand why I would still want to jump.
And why do you still want to jump?
The way I explained it to her is if a Formula One driver has a crash and they hurt themselves, they're still a Formula One driver. And if they can and their body will allow it, they'll still continue to drive Formula One. Like it's something, if you see yourself, if you identify as a base jumper and that's how you get your kicks and that's what you do, in most sports, people will, if you're surfing and you break your leg surfing, you'll probably go back out surfing again. I think because people think of base as so extremely dangerous, they don't understand as much. But to me, it's no different from that. Like I can still do it. I can be more careful. I can see myself still achieving a bunch of jumps without getting hurt. So I still push that, and whether that's right or wrong, that's how I justify it to myself. Yana wanted me to quit, and I gave her reasons why I didn't want to, and she just accepted that. I was a base jumper when she met me, she doesn't like it. She doesn't want to be involved in it. When we go on holidays together, she won't come and watch me jump. I've hurt myself a couple of times. After the first time I hurt myself, we'd go on holidays, like we'd go to Brazil and I'd have a 3-week holiday in Brazil with her. And then she'd fly home and I'd stay for an extra 2 or 3 weeks and meet up with the local jumpers and go and jump around Brazil. And that worked for a while until I had my second accident in South Africa. Now it's something.
Do I know about all your accidents? I feel like the one that you landed in the river was the one on the rocks, on the boulders, was the one that I thought was a big one.
That's not the one, man. Like I'll shoot you some footage so you can drop it into the podcast and
all right,
and people will have
talk us through it. The one that I haven't.
It's a hell of a story actually. Like it's so basically I was in South Africa with my wife. We had a 3-week vacation. Went and did all the safari stuff, went and driving down the coast, beautiful country, amazing. And I'd organised to meet this American dude that I met in Italy, and he was coming over to jump. So Yana flew home, met up with this guy, did a few jumps off Table Mountain, few bits and pieces, and went to this big mountain that's like 45 minutes out of Cape Town with a couple of the local guys. They were really accommodating, showed us the jump. It was quite a tall jump, like it was 8-second delay or something like that. Wow. And then we were gonna head off to do some bridges, me and the American guy, and they said they were organizing a helicopter to go up this mountain. So the first time I went up, we hiked it. It took 5.5 hours, and my ankles aren't great. So it was when I found out that they were getting a helicopter to fly up, I was like, yeah, for sure. We'll hang out for another couple of days. We'll get the helicopter up. We'll do a jump with the boys, and then we'll head off on a little trip and see what we can find. And basically, the helicopter pilot, there was 8 groups going up, and we were the 8th group, me and the American guy. And I'd only seen this exit one time before. And we got dropped off by the helicopter. And we're walking around at the top of this mountain. And they basically, the helicopter dropped us all up to the top, and then they pissed off because we'd only paid them for half a day or whatever. And all the other guys had jumped already. And we were up the top of this mountain. We couldn't find the exit point. And we're walking around for 4 or 5 hours. And because it was a helicopter jump, we thought we were literally getting dropped at the exit, jump down, 10 minutes up, 5 minutes down, job done, have a beer, celebrate with everyone. So I didn't bring any water, didn't bring anything. It was a super hot day. and we just drive up the top of this mountain, just like basically trying to search around for this exit point. And there was a whole bunch of different options that we'd go past, but they weren't where we were supposed to jump from. And we had the guy on the bottom trying to tell us where it was, but we're just getting more and more lost, and more frustrated. And it's kind of coming towards the end of the day. And I found this exit point, this kind of diving board rock that would have been good for a slider down jump. So slider downs where you're going to take a shorter delay and you set up the parachute to open more quickly. But we were packed for this 8-second delay jump, and there wasn't really anywhere to unpack and repack because it was just jagged rocks everywhere. Didn't have any of the tools to repack the parachute. So ended up walking around for ages, found this thing, and I was like, it's this diving board, then there was a ledge here, and you had to get a really good like 3-step run off it. And I was like, I know I can clear this ledge, and I threw a bunch of rocks, and as soon as the rocks went over this ledge, couldn't hear shit. Like they couldn't hear anything bouncing down or anything like that.
So you didn't know what was over the ledge?
Didn't know what was over the other side. And stood up there for another probably hour, just like, oh, gonna do it, gonna not do it. And I was just like, you're always thinking that like when you do it, like I'm absolutely dehydrated, sweating, and I was like, oh, I jump, I fly away, I land, and there's a bar at the landing area. I'm like, I'm just gonna land, I'm gonna have a beer. I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna do it. Like I can clear this ledge. And in my head, the ledge was the only issue. Like I just thought I'd thrown all these rocks, hadn't heard anything past that. So I thought, oh yeah, the ledge is the only issue. I'm going to just miss the ledge, but I'm going to clear it. So anyway, sort of get psyched up, run at it, jump, fly, literally just miss the edge, which I knew I was going to get. I knew I was going to clear it, not by much, but just miss the edge.
How
which
close?
was
Meters or within?
Yeah. My shadow was fucking massive, man. Like for people that watch base jumping videos, you kind of see your shadow meet you because it's the sun's shining here, and it's like your shadow is all the way over there, and as you get closer to the rock, the shadow comes and meets you, and you'll see it in the video. Like the shadow is right there, so within 1 meter, 2 meters, definitely of hitting this sort of thing, and it's probably, I'm gonna guess, like just under 100 meters under the place that I jumped off, and there's this big ledge out to here. And as soon as I cleared the ledge, I'd got to look at what was coming, and my tracking suit hadn't really inflated properly yet, so I wasn't moving forward. And I didn't even think about it. Like as soon as I cleared the edge, I just pitched. It saved my life. Like if I had done it even a split second after, I would have 100% been dead. I'm lucky I wasn't dead as it is. Like, and basically the parachute opened, and as soon as the parachute opened, it just collapsed because I just hit this wall straight away, pretty much going still well over 100 kilometers an hour.
Wow.
And hit this wall, and luckily, instead of like jumping off something and landing flat, this wall was kind of like on an angle, so I kind of hit it and it spun me off, probably took some of the momentum out of my fall, and then I ended up perched on this little ledge, and then there was a 400-meter drop just down there. So I knew straight away that my femur was broken because my leg was a bit off to the side, and I knew that both my ankles were completely fucked because one of them was stuck in this vine, and I could move my leg, but my foot wasn't moving. But there was no ligaments left, so my ankle was my leg was freely moving above my foot.
Are you in shock at this point, or
complete 100% massive, like in shock? And luckily, because the shock kills the pain a bit. So I get on my phone, tell the guys at the bottom what had happened. They're like, "Yeah, we're gonna organize a helicopter. Chill out, everything's gonna be all right." And he tells me, "You've got to," because my parachute's all like caught up on the, the bits of rock and stuff above me. And he's like, "You've got to pack away the parachute because when the helicopter comes, it can catch wind and pull you off the cliff, or they won't come near you while it's out." but the parachute was the only thing keeping me, like, the ledge wasn't even enough for my whole butt to sit on it that I was sitting on. So I took the parachute off, took ages because I was obviously massively injured, and got the parachute off, put it in the bag, and the guy's like, yeah, they're going to send a helicopter. It's going to be there in a couple of hours.
A couple of hours on that ledge?
Bro, just wait. It's insane. So they send this helicopter. It gets there about 4 hours after I've landed on the ledge. I'm just hanging on to this little vine. And for dear life, like if I let go of this thing, like I'm pretty much just going over this ledge. And after 4 hours, a helicopter comes. And because I'm in this gully, and then there's a drop down, and I'm sitting on the last ledge of the gully. Like, I'm lucky I stopped there, because if I didn't stop there, I would have gone over, and that would have been the end. But the helicopter comes, and because it's a tight gully, it's too dangerous for them to get the helicopter close enough to be able to rescue me. So the helicopter kind of comes, and I'm like, thank God, this whole thing's over. Just come and save me. And then it just turns around and flies away. And I call the guy. I'm just like, down the bottom. I'm just like, what's happening? And he's like, yeah, they said they can't safely rescue you with the helicopter there. They're going to send a team. So they fly down to the bottom, to the car park, get all their stuff sorted. And the hours are just passing and passing and passing.
And is this now you're not in shock anymore and you're just in pain?
I'd say the shock was still there. It's like a traumatic experience. I can't even remember. Like, it felt like it lasted forever, but it also felt like it was like I was on the ledge for like 17 hours in the end. I stayed overnight, and I did the injury at about 2:00 in the afternoon. And then at about 11:30 at night, these guys finally abseiled down the cliff and stayed with me. And then I got rescued at like 7, 8 o'clock the next morning.
Wow. How long were you up there for?
17 hours on this ledge, something like that.
Whoa.
Yeah. So, but for the first 9 hours, I was up there just on my own. And then
did they bring painkillers?
They didn't want to give me medication because I needed to be able to help with the rescue. Because when you're getting rescued from like a cable coming down, you can't be like all morphined out of your head kind of like this. So they gave me some basic like paracetamol kind of stuff. But basically we all three of us, like, they got me, they put the climbing harnesses and stuff on me, and they had to get me up to a ledge that was like 2 meters above, but they couldn't lift me up because they're dangling from ropes as well. So basically all they could do, I had to climb up myself, and then they'd take the slack out of the rope. So I'd literally like get myself like half an inch up, screaming in pain because the bone inside my leg kept like rubbing on itself. And I'd get myself like an inch up, scream. They'd take the little bit of slack that I got out of the rope. It took about an hour and a half to get 2 meters up to this ledge. We got up to there, and then I was tied in, and like completely hallucinating by this point, not off the drugs they gave me, but just from like being in pain for that amount of time. I remember seeing the guy was like next to me, and I'd kind of go in and out of sleep on this ledge. And he had these orange gloves on, and he had his hands around his knee like this. And I kept looking at his hands on his thing, and I kept looking at him, and I'd be like, fuck, man, this guy's face looks so weird. And then like I'd look up, and his face is behind him, and I'm like, oh, it's just his gloves. But like I was fully seeing a face in his thing. And then anyway, I'm kind of going on because it was a lot happened, but basically the next morning they got a smaller helicopter up there, and managed to drop down the bed that's strapped onto the cable. Got me onto that, and like the whole time it's basically raining stones, yeah, because the wind from the blades is pushing all of these stones off the sheer rock cliffs. So
Okay.
and they're just dropping on me. And then as they take off to get me away from the thing, the stretcher smashes against the cliff and like shudders through my whole body. But basically, yeah, got down from that. It took two helicopters and like 40 plus people to do the rescue operation. It was one of the biggest rescues in mountain rescues in South African history. So that was intense, man. And I ended up going back to the hotel. Like as soon as I got down to the bottom, the guy in the helicopter, like the anaesthetist, came up to me and he's like, "Oh man, you've been through a lot. Like, do you want fentanyl? Do you want like ketamine?" Like, just listed off all these drugs, and I just basically said, "Yeah, just give me all of it. Like, sort me out." And he gave me an injection, and the second he gave me the injection, it was like, all good, no problem at all. Like, couldn't feel a single thing in my body, completely fine. And then, yeah, got back to the hospital in Cape Town and ended up getting a titanium rod put from my knee to my hip inside the femur bone. And they left the ankles. I ended up going back to Germany and getting the operations done on the ankles in Germany. But yeah, I was in hospital for 10 days, something like that. And then the insurance we had covered the medical expenses, but it didn't cover the like full hospital bed, like first class experience on the way home. So I ended up with my busted legs, like sitting in economy, like crunched into this little seat. And yeah, it took me, because I waited 6 or 7 weeks in Germany, and then I got my ankles operated on. And I'll send you pictures of the scars and all that sort of stuff. But got all of the ligaments replaced on my in my left ankle. So in total, I was in a cast for 3 months, and then I had to basically do physiotherapy. Like in Germany, the medical care is amazing. They had me in physiotherapy 5 days a week for 6 hours, doing classes, learning how to walk again, getting massages, personal trainers, all covered under the basic German health insurance. So that was a really good place to be to recover. And yeah, I mean, it was probably, I'm going to say, 7 months before I could walk without crutches and a year before I could walk without a limp. And then, yeah, I mean, I'm at the stage now. It was almost 2 years ago. No, wait, it was February 2019. So it's more than 2 years ago now, the accident. And I'm pretty good. Like my ankle doesn't have, like, this is my good ankle. It's obviously a lot of flexibility. In the bad one, I've got flexibility in the foot, but the ankle just doesn't have that real flexibility forwards and backwards. So I can't do squats or that kind of stuff anywhere where the knee kind of goes above the foot. But for day-to-day life, like, it's pretty good. I've got to get the metal rod taken out of my femur next year. I should have done it this year, but we were traveling, so didn't want to. But that's just started giving me a few pains. Like when I'm laying on my left-hand side, I can feel where the pins go into the hip, which wasn't the case a year ago. But yeah, I don't know if my body's rejecting the metal work or whatever, but it's all small stuff, it's not making me a cripple. Whereas for the first year, I literally felt like a cripple. I couldn't walk down a set of stairs, and a lot of my life I spent in pain. So yeah, man, it was pretty intense experience.
Dude, so you've been through like multiple crashes. You've been through that crash, right? You're going back to base jumping. So you obviously value stepping out of your comfort zone and you value fear. It's like, can I ask you, like, what do you love about stepping out of your comfort zone? And why do you think it's important? Like, why do you value that in your life?
Part of it's stepping out of my comfort zone. Part of it's that I just find it really fun. But I guess it's more than that. Yeah, it's
Well,
a hard
you don't want to
process.
go through all that again, do you?
No, but
2 years of not walking properly.
I've kind of convinced myself that I'm not going to, and maybe that's it. Definitely sounds stupid from a person
That's good
without.
focus to me. Sounds like good focus.
Yeah,
What you focus on, you amplify, and you're focusing on like a positive outcome. You're not focusing on.
I'm also making a lot less risky decisions. Like there's jumps that I would have done a couple of years ago. I would have jumped anything a couple of years ago. Like I was so confident and like, yeah, there's now I'm pretty much just doing stuff that I feel like I'm 100% sure not going to get hurt out of. So that's how I justify it to myself that the jumps that I choose to do are the jumps that I'm not going to get hurt doing. But, you know, in saying that, could I break my ankle on a landing? Of course I could. And if I broke my ankle again, as long as it healed properly, I'd still probably do it again, you know, like it is just, you got to do what you love doing, you know, and part of it's the relationship with fear. Like I do like everything in my body telling me not to do something and then being able to do it anyway. Like that's an accomplishment to me. But it's not all about the fear or the mental side of it. Like a lot of it is the physical challenge as well of and you know just life can get boring sometimes, and doing something of that level of excitement kind of puts a nice reset on life sometimes, and you know makes you appreciate the simple things in a lot of ways. Like I think I appreciate base jumping doesn't just help me in my life when I'm doing the base jump. I think since starting base jumping, it's helped me to appreciate lots of other things more in my life, and you know value relationships, value being able to walk down the street. You know, having a tragic injury like that, and seeing those really dark times makes times where you can just go for a stroll with your wife and your baby on the beach in Thailand. That makes it that little bit more sweet. So yeah, there definitely is a link to fear, and you know, obviously fear is a part of base jumping, but it's a lot more than that to me in a lot of ways, I guess.
No, that's really cool, man. I really like that. And those are about all the things that I wanted to know. Is there anything else that you wanted to add that you think might be
Not
of
so much,
value?
man. It's been really interesting talking about it because I haven't really talked about it. Like I've been since this all happened, like COVID happened and all that sort of stuff. So I've been living in a foreign country, not around all my mates and that kind of stuff. So I haven't actually told the story. So it's been really interesting just kind of voicing that to you. And but yeah, man, I'm an open book. I'm happy to talk about anything. But yeah, I mean, we can chat about the small time stuff and yeah, offline. But yeah, man, I'm pretty happy.
Yeah,
All
I
good.
definitely want to get that if we get your permission to show people that footage and put it on the end of this podcast, because I'm sure now that you've explained that story in that detail, there's going to be a few people that want to see what happened.
Yeah, 100%, man. I've got a few pictures, a few videos of the lead up to it, sort of psyching myself out. And
Do you have any footage when you're on the wall by yourself?
Yeah, I do actually. I haven't watched it in forever, and I haven't showed anyone it. But yeah, I actually, I can't remember exactly what I said, but I've got some sort of monologue thing
Oh
with
my
my
God, we've got
camera.
to see this. This will be amazing.
Yeah, I've got some sort of monologue thing with my camera where I'm basically saying, like, sorry, I'm not going to be able to get you any content because I'm sitting on a fucking ledge and my legs are broken. And yeah, I can't, it was such a, it was so traumatic. I didn't even remember that I have that footage until you mentioned it because I just haven't really gone back and watched all that stuff. Like I've watched the actual crash itself, you know, probably 100 times. So I'm not 100% sure exactly what I say, but there is a time when I was up there just with my camera and no one else, and I definitely talked to the camera. So I'll see if I can get you a little clip of that for sure.
Oh, mate, we want that for sure. Oh, no, wicked, man. All right. Well, I'm going to stop the recording now. This will be the end of the podcast bit, but you don't go anywhere because I do want to have a chat. But for all those people that loved it, because I loved it too, ding, ding. That's when the links are going to come up, bro.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. Just two. Please once.
More coming. More good stuff.
Lots more coming. Actually, I better tell you this on this. You were talking about how you would do any sort of jump 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was having a chat to another base jumper that we won't say his name, but we were worried you were going to go in.
Oh, yeah.
And
I nearly did, mate. I nearly did.
Yeah, I've had that thought before, and we lost a mate, So I was like, oh, far out. I feel like he's on that same road, that same projection.
Yeah,
it's
man.
Good. Glad to see you get through it, and glad to see you still positive about it, and still want to, get into it, and still push yourself, and still keep going. Nothing's changed mentally for you.
Yeah, I've got a few years left of my body allowing me to do it. I think, I think. When you know, right? Like, I think it is one of those things where, you don't want to flog a dead horse, but it is, and you know a bit more about this, and you probably talk about this down the track, but it's kind of, where do you go from a sport like this? It's not something you can just pick up a set of golf clubs and get the same sort of joy out of. So, Anyway. 1